So fun news. We found out that Google AI is lying about Plugged In. I'm Brett. That's Emily. We work for Plugged In, and we're going to talk about it.
For those of you who don't know, so Plugged In, we are part of Focus on the Family's ministry. We review movies, TV shows, music, YouTube channels, bunch of different stuff.
Yeah, so critically, we don't make recommendations of the things that we review, official recommendations.
Anything we do is like with a grain of salt. It's like, you might enjoy this, but here are the content issues.
Make the decision for yourself.
Yep.
And keep that in mind because that will become important as we discuss kind of what has happened.
Yeah, and what has happened.
What has happened, okay. Well, thanks to one of our eagle-eyed Plugged In users, Tammy, so I want to give Tammy a shout out for this. Thank you for this. She was actually searching for Plugged In recommendations for family movies in 2025. So recent family movies that she could watch potentially with her family. So what happened was Google took that request, and if you're familiar with kind of the AI overview, the little box at the top that when you search for something, now Google has put in like a little AI summary of your question, essentially. Well, that AI overview took movies from our website and it listed them out and said that we recommended them. Here are some of the things that Google AI said that Plugged In recommended, the movies we recommended. Wolfman, rated R, bloody horror movie. One of Them Days, rated R, raunchy comedy. Den of Thieves 2, Pantera. Bank heist movie, lots of language, lots of violence, rated R.
Yep.
You sensing a pattern here?
Yeah.
Better Man, biopic about a singer, also rated R. The Last Showgirl, as you imagine, rated R. The Brutalist, also rated R. The Room Next Door, not rated R, PG-13, but about euthanasia and suicide.
Oh, that's not...
I wouldn't say family friendly on that one. And then finally, Wallace and Gromit. Nailed it.
Hey!
Nailed it. All right.
So just like based on what I know of what our current homepage looks like, those are all just the movies we reviewed most recently.
Right, and they're all R-rated.
Yeah. So it wasn't giving a list of like, here's what we recommended. It was giving a list of, here's the things that they reviewed most recently, but it didn't portray it that way.
Exactly. So I will say, I will give Google AI credit. The one movie that it did put on there that could be considered family friendly did get Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul on there.
Which was recently reviewed, or at least recently put back on the homepage.
So it nailed that one, but not a lot else, unfortunately. So right now, if you do that search, Google is saying that Plugged In is recommending some of those R-rated movies with some pretty serious content issues as family friendly. So they're misrepresenting us, and that's
Google
a good thing.
Coronavirus.
Yeah, exactly. do you find the AI overview useful, Emily? Do you use it a lot?
Admittedly, I have used it, especially if
hard to avoid.
It really is, because it usually I'm looking for a really quick answer. And so since it's right there at the top of the page, I will sometimes skim over that. But I actually have come across the issues with Google recently. So if I'm doing official research, like when I do research for articles for Plugged In, for our blog and whatnot, I will almost always click on whatever link is associated. So it's like, here's the bullet point fact, and here's the link it pulled that from. So I will go to the actual link, find the information I'm looking for to confirm it. And then I will use it. But I usually try to confirm it. It's like trust but verify, you know.
That's a good rule of thumb, is just to check the sources that Google AI is pulling from, especially right now as kind of the technology is progressing. It's not in a perfect place by any means. And really that's the other reason why we wanted to do this video, is not just to complain about how Google AI is representing us, although that's part of it, but also we just wanted to kind of touch on, again, how AI is being used in a lot of ways now, and some of the pitfalls with that. So we just really want to kind of make people aware there are some issues there, especially when you're looking for accurate information right now.
I'm curious, like, how would this respond? If this is what it did with our website, which we are not satirical, we're not sarcastic, anything like that. Like, that's not the basis of our website. So, and yet AI took our reviews as recommendations, you know, instead of as critical, like going through it, content guides. So I'm curious, how how would AI handle? How would it handle a satirical site like Babylon Bee?
That's a great question.
Would it recognize that nuance? And I mean, from what I've read and researched myself, the answer is no. So you really, like, it is difficult. Like you're going, and I also wonder, what would it say to sites similar to ours who maybe, review the same kind of content with that same kind of like parental guidance mindset in mind? Like, are they taking it as recommendations, or is there some secret sauce to make it so that the Google AI knows that, hey, this is not a recommendation. This is just this is the movie, and this is what is in the movie.
Right. Well, I think those are fair questions, and I'm sure if we're dealing with something like this, plenty of other websites are dealing with this too. When AI tries to summarize, really, this is just an example of, to put it plainly, AI being dumb. Honestly, because I think what it's doing, no sugarcoating. I mean, really, what it's doing is, hey, it's looking at certain words in kind of the search term, right? So plugged in family-friendly movie recommendations, right? So it looks at plugged in, so it knows to look for plugged in. It's looking for family-friendly, it's looking for movies, it's looking for recommendations. So it goes to plugged in, like you talked about, it's looking at kind of our recent movies, not family-friendly specific movies. And it's just kind of mashing things together. And that's, I think, where the problem comes, is we don't say anything about recommendations, but because the user did, the AI is trying to fulfill that request.
It doesn't speak the same language as us. AI is literally just a series of ones and zeros. So it's like, does it match query, yes or no?
Yep.
And, in this case, the answer was no, it doesn't match the query, but it was close enough to the query that it could, if there was a flow chart of this, it was able to work its way through the flow chart to give her that output,
right,
even though it wasn't quite what she had requested.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. It's giving its best guess in a lot of ways. Right. And Google already, just from Google search, it already tracks pages, it reads pages. So if you search for a movie review, Google has to know what websites are out there that do movie reviews.
Yeah. And,
this is kind of like the next step of that.
Well, and here's the other thing. It's like, again, Google isn't reading our articles. There's no person at Google who's like, here, let me read all these articles. And, oh, this person just submitted this request. Well, let me see if I can figure that out. No, that is not how AI works.
It's an algorithm.
It literally is an algorithm where it's like, review. Does website say review? Yes, it does. Multiple times at the top of every one of our reviews, it says movie review, So it's like, it does say review. Does it say recommendation? I'm sure somewhere on our website we have used the word recommendation. In fact, I guarantee it. I know we have used the word recommendation somewhere in some article or another. We have used the word recommendation.
It's a big website.
Or synonyms of it.
Sure.
That's the other thing. So it's like, if you're just going through and it's like a series of yes/no questions, a series of ones and zeros, then sure, it fulfilled the request to the best of its ability. But I think it just goes to show, no matter what you're doing with AI, whether it be Google or ChatGPT or what's the one from Bing, Copilot, I think it's called? Yeah, Copilot, whatever you're using, like, you really do just need to go back and check your sources. And I think about, the broader ramifications of this. I think about how, we recently found out that like a significant, I think it was like more than half of all influencers don't bother checking their sources.
Yeah, I remember
So
that.
you got to think, if this influencer, they're like, oh, this topic is trending, let me Google that, or let me search for that. And then they get an AI response and they're like, oh, that's shocking. And then I've now quoted Elf twice. That is not intentional. That is definitely not intentional. But regardless, if they are going through this stuff and they aren't fact checking, they aren't clicking on those links, they're just taking it as, oh, this is a brief summary of the thing that I'm looking for. And then they just spit it back out to their audience. And they're like, and this is what you should think about it. So for parents especially, you really got to pay attention to what your kids are watching on social media, reading on social media, and just like, train them to think about this critically. Be like, okay, have you verified what they said? Have you found proof of what this person said is true? And they might Google that same query and be like, yeah, this is what the AI said. but is that what the website that the AI is quoting said?
Yes.
You know, there's additional questions. There's additional research that has to be conducted, unfortunately, in every case. So the idea behind AI is we're going to make your life simpler. We're going to summarize everything. It's actually creating more work for us.
Yeah, maybe not so much, but I think it's another good point to bring up where AI isn't necessarily only summarizing from one source either.
Yeah.
So I think that's another piece of the puzzle too, where it's like, you know, it might be seeing something, pulling from that, seeing another thing, pulling from that, and jumbling it all together again, giving its best effort, but that can lead to misinformation on a lot of things.
I mean, they really can, because you also have to consider, okay, what was the original source? 'Cause, for example, when a new scientific study comes out, you'll probably see 5 or 6 different news sources who will report on that study, and they'll all, you know, put a little bit of their own twist on it and everything. So Google can pull from the original source and the 6 news sources that also quoted it. But what if the original source wasn't, you know, a scientific study? What if the original source was, I don't know, like some conspiracy theory video?
Sure.
And then people report on the video, so the AI reads it all, and then spits it all back out as fact, when the original source was not fact.
Right. And like you said earlier, I mean, there's no quality control, like there's no human quality control element. And that's really what's missing from a lot of AI components nowadays. Or I think maybe people aren't aware that that is still needed in a lot of ways. With whatever you're doing with AI, a human component doing the fact checking, the quality control is going to be crucial going forward. So I think that's about as good a time as any to wrap up. So thank you guys for watching. Please share with us in the comments, what is your experience with AI, right? Are you seeing the same mistakes we are? Is it working well for you? We want to hear what your experience is for sure. And be sure to subscribe to this video and our channel as well, so you can keep updated with all the many things that we're doing, many of them AI related, including our podcast. We've had a lot of good topics on there as well. So keep in touch, and we'll see you guys next time.